can just turn around and do that.
Hi, Gary. How you doing? Ding dong.
5:58.
What's that?
Yeah.
Here, Jody, are we having a PowerPoint tonight here? Or still? Okay, in there. Okay.
Busy day.
Please.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it's goofy.
Well, being that it is now 6 o'clock, we will call this meeting to order. Madam Clerk, could you please take the roll?
Mayor Miller,
Here.
Alderpersons Clem,
Here.
McLanathan,
Here.
Ross,
Here.
Parker,
Here.
Busker,
Here.
Brashaw,
Here.
Keister,
Here.
and Chesney.
Here.
And if you could please stand and join us with the Pledge of Allegiance, led by Alderman Clem. Okay, first is the approval of the agenda. Is there such a motion?
So moved.
Second it.
We have a motion made by Alderman Brashaw, seconded by Alderman Ross for the approval of the agenda. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion passes. Next is the approval of the minutes for September 17th, 2018. Is there such a motion for that approval? Motion made by Parker,
Second.
seconded by Keister. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion passes. There are no signed-in public comments, so we'll move on to item number 4, which is the consent agenda. All items on the consent agenda are considered to be routine in nature unless there's a member of the council that would like to have something discussed separately. Is there anyone in the council that would like to have something removed? Seeing none, the consent agenda consists of the approval to receive and place on file the minutes from the Planning Commission for special meeting July 26th and the regular meeting August 9th. Minutes from the Building Commission meeting on August 15th and the Liquor Commission meeting on August 9th and the Fire Department report August 2018. Approval of the finance bills payable in the total of $646,145.31 and the approval of payroll for pay period ending September 15th in the total of $558,506. Is there a motion for the approval of the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion made by Busker, seconded by Brashaw. Madam Clerk, could you please take the roll on the passage of the consent agenda?
Clem,
Aye.
McLanathan,
Aye.
Ross,
Aye.
Parker,
Here. Aye.
Busker,
Aye.
Brashaw,
Aye.
Keister,
Aye.
and Chesney.
Aye.
Motion passes 8-0.
Thank you. Next, we have recognition of service awards.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'll introduce, I'm actually going to ask both Chief Barklow and Alderman Parker to join me. The reason is Alderman Parker was the chief of police when the two representatives were sworn in. So I'll start with any choice on whether we start with
How
Chris.
about, let's, Sergeant Chris Schemberger.
Come on up. So this is for 20 years of service. Congratulations. So there you go, Chris. And I will turn it over to the two chiefs.
Chris is Sergeant in the Detective Bureau. Chris has been with us, it feels like 20 years now, Chris. Yeah. It feels like some progress. Chris does an outstanding job for us. He's a lot of fun to be around, and he's just a great cop. And I appreciate all the services you give to the citizens of Freeport, Chris. Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, Andrew Schroeder, come on up. Congratulations, Lieutenant Andrew Schroeder. There you go. And I'll turn it over to you.
Thanks, man. Thanks for all you do in our department. The little things that you do is just amazing. And your leadership and is beyond reproach, and I just appreciate it. Now, I wondered if we could get a quick picture of us. Is Connie, you get your phone and those picture of Don? I want you in there too. Chris? Lowell? Of course, Chief Parker, you probably knew 20 years ago that this was where these guys would end up at this particular time.
There's no doubt in my mind. They did the background, both of them, and as part of the interview with the commission, and there's no doubt in my mind we were ahead. And thank you very much, both of you.
Very proud of both of them.
Cheryl, we want to recognize, now she's over in the library. She actually has 30 years of service to the city. And I want to say congratulations, Cheryl. And
Well, first, I'd just like to say congratulations, Cheryl, Chris, and Andrew. You are all very much assets in the departments that you serve, and we appreciate you. Next, we have, this is National Fire Prevention Week, and I have a proclamation to make on behalf of the city. Whereas fire is a serious public safety concern both locally and nationally, and homes are locations where people are at greatest risk from fire. And whereas October is the National Fire Prevention Month, and October 7th through the 13th is Fire Prevention Week. And whereas this year's theme is Look, Listen, Learn, Be Aware, Fire Can Happen Anywhere, which encourages people to look for places that fire can start, listen for the sound of smoke alarms, and learn 2 ways out of each room. And whereas the City of Freeport is committed to ensuring the safety and security of all those living in and visiting Freeport. And whereas home fire escape plans should be developed by all members of the household and practice the fire home escape plan twice a year to ensure that everyone in the household knows what to do in a real fire situation. And whereas Freeport's first responders are dedicated to reducing the occurrence of home fires and home fire injuries through prevention and detection education. So now, therefore, I, Jody Miller, Mayor of the City of Freeport, Illinois, do hereby proclaim that October 7th through the 13th as Fire Prevention Week in the City of Freeport, and urge all people of Freeport to participate in the many public safety activities and efforts of Freeport's fire and emergency services. So, Chief, if there's something you'd like to add to that, you are welcome. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Miller. Just as a reminder for everyone, the fire department's going to be out at all the schools this month. Starting this week, it's going to ramp up. So it's important for us to get out to the schools. It's important to get that message out there of fire safety so people can learn at a young age what it is to prevent fires in the homes and to reduce the risk to the community and reduce the risk to their lives. So, Mayor Miller, thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor, if I may.
Alderman Keister.
Thank you. I just wanted to say that having been part of these classes and stuff, there's a lot of work that these guys do. And I just want to mention that during my career in the fire department, I can think of 3 cases where there were fires where the kids got out and their comment was, it was because of what the firemen told us to do. So does the program work? It certainly does. There was at least 3, if not more, because I know on at least one occasion, the little girl grabbed her sister and took her out with her because the firemen told her to do that. So kudos to you guys. I know how much work it is, but it does have its payoff, and keep up the good work, please. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Item number 7. Move on to the second reading of ordinance 2018-49. Madam Clerk, could you please read this for the record?
An ordinance amending City of Freeport Code of Ordinances, Title 6, Administration, Chapter 240, Police Department, Section 240.09, Appointments, Section H, Residency Requirement, and amending City of Freeport Code of Ordinances, Title 6, Administration, Chapter 242, Fire Department, Section 242.25, City Residents.
Mayor,
Thank you. Alderman Chesney.
motion to table indefinitely.
Second.
Postpone indefinitely.
Point of order, it should be postponed indefinitely.
Postpone indefinitely.
Okay, so there's a motion on the table for postponing indefinitely made by Alderman Chesney, seconded by Alderman Parker. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, could you please take the roll?
Clem.
Aye.
McClanathan.
Aye.
Ross. Parker.
Aye.
Busker.
Aye.
Brashaw.
Abstain.
And Keister.
Aye.
And lastly, Chesney.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0 with 1 abstention.
Thank you. Item number 8 is the first reading of ordinance 2018-50. Madam Clerk, could you please read this for the record?
An ordinance authorizing the sale of certain items of personal property owned by the City of Freeport.
Thank you. Director Carr.
Yes, thank you. Back in February, we brought a similar ordinance with quite a few more items on it. We have actually just gotten around to getting the bid ready to go out on those items. I know we're a bit late, but due to some personnel and then some other issues, we're just now getting to it. And so when I started putting it together, I started to see that there was other items that we could put on it, that we could get rid of, and that we could get something back instead of it just taking up yard space. And so I have put together this ordinance, and I've had Tom Kapansky's help. He had gotten some extra items from the Water and Sewer Department, and so we've got those 10 items listed out in front of you. So on this, I know we don't like to do it much, but we would like to waive the rules so that way we could get the bid packet out later this week, so that way maybe we can get bids in and read for the first council in November.
Mayor,
Alderman Keister.
motion to move it forward.
Second. Aye, or Patrick.
Mayor.
Let me just address this one first, and then, so on the floor, we have a motion to move forward ordinance 2018-50 made by Alderman Keister, seconded by Alderman McClanathan. Alderman Keister.
Motion to suspend the rules as requested.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor made by Alderman Keister, seconded by Alderman Chesney for the suspension of the rules. Suspension of the rules must pass by a 2/3 majority and it's non-debatable. Madam Clerk, could you please take the roll for the suspension of the rules only?
Clem.
Aye.
McClanathan.
Aye.
Ross.
Aye.
Parker.
Aye.
Busker.
Aye.
Brashaw.
Aye.
Keister.
Aye.
And Chesney.
Aye.
That passes 8-0.
Thank you. So, Council, now before you is ordinance 2018-50 for final passage. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, could you please take the roll?
Clem.
Aye.
McClanathan.
Aye.
Ross.
Aye.
Parker.
Aye.
Busker.
Aye.
Brashaw.
Aye.
Keister.
Aye.
And Chesney.
Aye.
And that ordinance is adopted 8-0.
Thank you. Item number 9 is Resolution 2018-47. Madam Clerk, could you please read this?
Resolution of the City of Freeport authorizing and approving an agreement with Tesca and Associates to conduct a land bank feasibility study.
Thank you. Director Bucas.
Thank you, Your Honor. In July of this year, the city received an Illinois Housing Development Authority grant in the amount of $15,500 to conduct a feasibility study on creating a land bank within the city limits. This feasibility study will help determine our needs and possible courses of action to establish a land bank. Land banks can be used as part of our floodplain mitigation plan, and we'll use the information gathered to develop a strategy on mitigating flooding in the city and incorporate it into our new comprehensive plan. Funding to finance the feasibility study will be through the IHDA grant, and the grant will pay for the consultant, and the only expenses the city will have are out-of-pocket expenses for staff time and materials. Staff has recommended the City Council to approve a contract with Tesca Associates in the amount of $15,500 to conduct the study. Tesca was selected by the IHDA to lead the team of consultants that will conduct the feasibility studies, and the study should be completed by May 1st of 2019.
Chair, or Mayor.
Alderman Chesney.
Director, the impact on the general fund is 0, correct?
That's correct.
Financial impact direct to the city is 0?
Well, other than out-of-pocket time,
Yeah.
yes, 0.
Okay.
Madam Mayor?
Yes, City Manager.
So one thing that needs to be done, we've already been approached by the Region 1 Planning Council about joining a 5 municipality land bank. We would be the 5th municipality to join it. And they can act as our agent, but they need to have this study done before we can join it. And this will allow, they will act as our agent going forward. And we will be a voting member once this study is completed.
Mayor,
Alderman Keister.
motion to approve?
Mayor.
Alderman Ross.
Yes, I just have one question. They're going to conduct this study. This may sound crazy, but what areas are they going to be conducting it on?
They look at the whole city.
Citywide.
The whole city?
The whole city.
Okay, thank you.
We have a motion made by Alderman Keister for the approval of Resolution 2018-47. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Is there any further discussion?
Outside, please.
Seeing none, Madam Clerk, would you please take the roll on the passage of 2018-47?
Clem.
Aye.
McLanathan.
Aye.
Ross.
Aye.
Parker.
Aye.
Busker.
Aye.
Brashaw.
Aye.
Keister.
Aye.
And Chesney.
Aye.
And that is adopted 8-0.
Thank you. Item number 10 is Resolution 2018-47. Madam Clerk, would you please read this?
Resolution of the City of Freeport authorizing application to the Federal Emergency Management Agency, FEMA, for the Assistance to Firefighters Grant Program.
And Chief Allen.
Yeah, this is the grant we applied for last year. They opened up the AFG starting Monday, running through October 26 for the fiscal year 18. We have identified 2 key items. One would be radio replacement so that we can upgrade from our VHF system to a UHF system so that our firefighter safety, our communications, the interoperability with the police department would be better. And then secondly, for a turnout gear extractor with a high capacity so we can clean the new gear that we just purchased on a more consistent, get the turnaround time a little quicker. This grant is a 10% match, so we'd be finding the funding out of different line items in our current budget.
Mayor,
Alderman Chesney.
motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion made by Alderman Chesney, seconded by Alderman Brashaw for the approval of Resolution 2018-48. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, would you please take the roll?
Clem.
Aye.
McLanathan.
Aye.
Ross.
Aye.
Parker.
Aye.
Busker.
Aye.
Brashaw.
Aye.
Keister.
Aye.
And Chesney.
Aye.
That motion passes 8-0.
And item number 11 is bid opening on September 25th, 2018 for the Ridgefield drainage improvements. Director Carr.
Yeah, so the Ridgefield drainage improvements was brought forward to council back in the February COW. It sits south of Ridgefield Drive in between Ridgefield and the country club there. The problems here have dated all the way back to 2013 and multiple communications from both the homeowner and the country club as well as the past engineers had really stalled several times. And it kind of seemed like every time there'd be a little bit of traction, something would happen and it would kind of fall apart again. And so what once started out as being a smaller project has kind of started to snowball into this that we have bid out in front of you. So we had received 4 bids. The lowest was from Law Excavation out of Mount Carroll, Illinois. Upon review with IDOT, there was a little hesitation on the timeliness of their completion, and so we had reached out to some other references. In doing so, we had found that timeliness was a sticking point on a lot of other references as well. And so with that in mind, we had put some stipulations on a contract with them. We had offered that we'd have final closeout by November 21st, and if they were not to finish before then, we'd do liquidated damages of $500 a day. So this kind of eased the tension of whether or not we'd be able to complete this job in a timely manner. They have agreed to that, and they would plan to start on October 15th if this were to pass council today, with substantial completion to be Friday, November 2nd. And it is the staff request that we accept their bid of $109,070, as well as decline the alternate A bid of $4,716.
And the one thing I'll add to council is we have already received, back in 2014, we had received a payment from Parkview of an amount of $40,000 to begin this work, because it was a direct result of the building of the Parkview. So this has been an outstanding issue since then, and city has received some funding to back this from them as well.
Mayor?
Alderman Bradshaw.
Thank you. Manager Crowe, Tom Clement, I know this has been going on for a while, and it's been a thorn in our saddle. We knew that there were funds paid towards having this done, and I, as a council member, I apologize to you that this wasn't done. We assumed the engineering had been finished and that they had tackled this years ago, and then it kept coming forward and laying over, and it's an embarrassment that it hasn't been taken care of up till now. Not just only for the constituent, but also Freeport Club. This should have been settled a while ago. So I'm glad to see it's finally got the ball rolling again, and I'm in favor of this to happen soon.
Excuse me. Madam Mayor?
Alderman Clem.
2 questions I have. Number one is, first of all, since I've been involved in the construction trade a long time, and when you get a red flag showed up on a bidder, usually there's a reason you're getting a red flag showing up. Are we definitely tied into the package of $500 a day on completion, all signed off on and everything else?
That is. So when this came up during the bidding process, I asked Fairgram to go out and get a list and contact all their references. And after the references, we found while their work was acceptable and for their projects, they had a tendency to be late on those on these type of projects. So the $500 per day is a typical, on this size of project, is a typical penalty that is paid to them. We have talked, Fairgram talked to both IDOT and City of Lanark, as well as Civil, who had worked with them originally. And this was the recommendation from them to us going forward.
Okay. Follow up if I could.
Yes.
Lowell or Dennis, either one. This also takes in the Groshans property and stuff?
Is that the other side of the driveway?
Yes.
Yes, it does.
Yes, the other side of the road where it's being all taken out and back, and the recommendation was originally to put some pipe in back there, and then that completely got out of line price-wise, and then it got tied in with this project, I believe.
That's actually not part of this project, but that is on and you're talking on the north side of Ridgefield Drive.
Yeah, my only question is, if we're doing it, why don't we, I mean, this person has been asking, is the person that brought all this up, why aren't we doing that?
Yes, we do have that on our log book, and we've actually met out on site at the Groshans property several times.
And we need to get this project done before we do that one. This feeds into the club and the other 2 properties in that area, so.
That we also have to have our easement set before we can actually go on and do any of the manhole work, because our sanitary sewer currently sits outside of the easement in that area.
So what happens is as part of this project, we've discovered that the easement for the sewer is not on the easement. So part of this project is purchasing and aligning that easement with the current plats, which we've got to get done before we can move on to that next project.
do we, just to follow up if I could, are we assuming that we're gonna try and do this year, or is it gonna be a springtime thing, or?
This project, if it were to pass council today, they are going to start on October 15th.
And as soon as this project gets done, then we can move into the next project.
Okay, I'd just appreciate if somebody would contact them and keep in touch with them to make sure that there's no loss of communication, so we do get it done. And I agree with Sally. I can see how we got where we got, but it's been a long process, I guess is the best way of putting it. Thanks for wrapping it up.
Mayor?
Alderman Keister.
Yeah, just one quick question. You had mentioned that this project had snowballed. Does this cover everything out there now except for what Alderman Clem mentioned? This is going to clear up the problem, and then we can move on to the project that was mentioned before?
Yes, this will take care of the problem.
Follow up, Mayor?
Yes.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor for the approval of the bid as so requested, made by Alderman Keister, seconded by Alderman Brasher. Is there any further discussion?
Mayor?
Yes, Alderman Brasher.
Motion to suspend the rules.
I don't think we have to.
We don't have to do that?
No.
Oh, it's resolution. Please excuse me.
That's okay. Madam Clerk, would you please take the roll on receiving the bid?
Clem.
Aye.
McClanathan.
Aye.
Ross.
Aye.
Parker.
Aye.
Busker.
Aye.
Brashaw.
Aye.
Keister.
Aye.
Chesney.
Abstain.
That motion passes 7-0 with 1 abstention.
Okay, next we have reports from department heads. Finance.
Thank you, Your Honor. The only item I have tonight is some information that we are in the process of closing out our Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity revolving loan fund. And we'll have something at the next council meeting as far as a resolution, so we can close that out and move forward with a couple other projects with that money. Thank you.
Thank you. Community development.
Thank you, Your Honor. City Council, I'm attending a seminar on opportunity zones hosted by Governor Rounder's office and DCEO on Thursday morning in Rosemont, along with Rebecca Motley from the Greater Freeport Partnership. Just a quick refresher, as you might recall, opportunity zones provide tax incentive for investors to reinvest their unrealized capital gains in low-income and rural census tracts around the country. It basically promotes the ideal of investing in Main Street instead of, or at least in addition to, investing in Wall Street. The Opportunity Zone here in Freeport, of course, shares a significant amount of real estate with the downtown TIF district, and municipalities have typically been promoting the benefits of those two together, which is a great array of incentives for developers, even more so when you consider here the Greater Freeport Partnership's Enterprise Zone, the $1 million downtown revolving loan fund, plus a facade program. And speaking of the facade program, it was the official launch of it today. Materials are on our website, and the Greater Freeport Partnership was going to post them on as well on their website. As Director Fucus mentioned, with the revolving loan fund, we're still working with City Attorney Zito on an RDA for Wagner House. We're nearing the finish line on that one. Just have 1 or 2 more final I's to dot and T's to cross with DCEO before moving forward with it. I also wanted to mention we're holding the pre-submittal meeting for the comprehensive plan RFP tomorrow at 1 p.m. here at City Hall. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can you repeat that?
Yes, I can, because I wrote it all down.
Public Works.
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. I want to remind everybody that leaf pickup does begin on October 15th. We'll have a couple crews out that day kind of scouting to see if there are many leaves falling and if anybody really has any piles out at that time. We do ask that you finish putting out all your leaves by November 25th. At that point in time, we'll be taking our last pass through the city. So once we pass your house on after the 25th, that will be it for us. And so we do understand that some people have schedules, but you also have to understand that we have schedules as well when it starts to snow and get to that, preparing our trucks and stuff for that kind of weather. The city crews have been busy the end of last week and then even today on removing the parking lot across from the library. That will be the future location of the Art Plaza. And then Fisher has signed the contracts on Float Street. We are waiting for the last of the loans, so we're waiting on the, not the loans, we're waiting on the IEPA permit for both the water and the sewer to get going on that. We had some comments come back on the water permit side, and so we should have that submitted out, resubmitted out at the end of the week. At that point, we should be getting the water back next week, but the sewer the following week is what we're hoping. At that point in time, between now and then, we're going to be meeting with Fisher to try to set some working schedules so we can start to allow, or I shouldn't say allow, we should start to get in contact with the homeowners in that area, so that way they can get prepared for what will be coming both this year and next year.
Thank you. Fire.
Nothing tonight, Your Honor.
Thank you. Police.
Yes, thank you, Honor. I want to announce that Wednesday, October 3rd, and remind everybody that it's Coffee with a Cop National Day. I'll be at the MLK building from 9 a.m. till 10. I'll be with Lowell, and the mayor will join me on that. So if anybody has, anything they want to come out and talk and have some coffee, I'll be there. I like to talk and I like coffee, so it sounds like a good idea.
I think we have 5 gallons for you.
Okay. Also, I want to remind that October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and in honor of that, and to remind everybody that the police department lights will be changed from blue to purple this month. So just if anybody has take a look at that when you leave here tonight, and that's why. That's all I have. Thanks.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor?
Alderman Clem.
Chief, could you just asking you this as a spur of the moment, so how is our new domestic violence officer doing, and how is that going?
That's our SUV, our Special Victims Unit, SVU. That's Corporal Stovall. She's doing an amazing job. She's very, very busy. She's very busy following up, and I think that she's doing such a great job that I think that when we take a look at the numbers, we'll actually see that domestic violence, it'll look like it spiked just because of the follow-up. And I think that the awareness is another thing. So it's going wonderfully. The grant is, I'm very fortunate we have the grant, and again, Corporal Stovall is just doing an amazing job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor.
Alderman Parker.
Yeah, I'd just like to congratulate the police department for the great roundup they had a week or so ago. Picked up all the people, and I think that's going to make a huge difference. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. That was a lot of work done by my men and women, and they, it was tremendous, and we'll hopefully be reaping the benefit of that from time going forward. Then, thank you though.
Water and sewer.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd like to make a note of a national organization which is called the Value of Water, and on October 10th, they will have their 4th annual Imagine a Day Without Water. And one thing, if we don't have water, basically 1/5 of the economy would grind to a halt without a reliable and clean source of water. Some other pertinent facts: 350 billion gallons of fresh water are withdrawn every day in the United States. 41% of that, which is 143 billion gallons, is used to produce thermoelectric power, and another 37% goes to irrigation. One thing with it and how it relates to Freeport here is that the dedication of the water and sewer staff to go and provide a product at your faucet. 1,000 gallons, we charge $1.84. I was at the store over the weekend, $2.39 for 1 gallon of milk. So I believe we provide good value for the money. The water is tested hourly, online, and that's our mission, is to provide the service for our residents.
Thank you.
Mayor?
Alderman Keister.
Yeah, just one quick question. It seems like there's been quite a few water main breaks here lately. Could you elaborate on that a little bit?
Well, yes, there were two main breaks on 2 different 12-inch water mains. One was installed in 1967, one was installed 1964, sort of on the south end of town, one around Armstrong, and then another one over on Walnut near Meadows. We've had it just pop on up, but the dedication of the staff to go and get those done in a quick and efficient manner, and one thing with it is that that happened during the day to where we were able to isolate those breaks to reduce the volume of water leaving out, and then to go and get the repair done to where they were back in service with little hesitation or stoppage.
Okay, follow up, Mayor? Yeah, I was just curious, because I know in the wintertime, if we had defrost, we got a lot of water breakage, and I know our water system isn't the greatest, but it just seemed to me like there's been a large number here in the past couple months of water main breaks, and I just was curious about that.
Well, it's, you're gonna get water main breaks all the time. It's just that with them being on the 12-inch lines, that's something that is a little bit out of the norm, since 90% of our water mains, probably 95% of our water mains are 8 inches and lower. So it's just a coincidence of two taking place in the same week.
Okay, thank you very much.
Madam Mayor?
Alderman Clem.
Two follow-ups, if I could, Tom. First of all, the mentioning about the water, a number of years ago, I was at a Chamber of Commerce banquet in Rockford, and they brought in a speaker that was from California. And they brought him in to talk about what all Rockford had going for him and this and that. And the number one thing he mentioned that we have here in our area is we have a sufficient supply of water. He said places like California, Nevada, et cetera, he says you're going to see some big fights over the next how many years for the lack of water, et cetera, and how they can conserve it. But to add to the water main thing, I think the one thing Mike, that we see is now we get the information that it was broken, you know, right off the bat, and it comes up to us. So that's very valuable there, and you know that it happened. So I think that's probably the biggest difference. Thank you.
Mayor?
Alderman Ross.
Yes, how soon before you'll start the flushing of the hydrants?
Well, let's see, okay, twice a year we do hydrant maintenance. In the springtime, we flush, and then in the autumn now, what we do is do maintenance. So what the maintenance aspect of it is that we'll go and open up the hydrant, then we'll shut it down, and then what we want to do is make sure that the hydrant drains. So then once we get into the below zero, sub-zero temperatures, we don't want to have a hydrant that has water that then goes and busts, and then if there's an event where the fire department has to have need of the hydrant, you know, it's not a good thing if we don't have an operating hydrant. So that's the project or the task that's being done now, but then our full-blown flushing program takes care or is performed in the spring.
Yeah, follow up, Mayor. Yeah, that's basically what I was speaking of, because due to the winter weather, and it's possibly going to be possibly a bad winter, and then if the fire department has to go out and use it, at least it's ready to roll.
Exactly. You know, at the point we've gone and done the inspection, and hopefully, you know, it just continues that way.
Mayor?
Alderman Keister.
You had mentioned about the water self-draining under hydrants and stuff for the benefit of the viewing audience and the people in the chambers here. Could you explain how that works a little bit quick? Because most people would not understand that it does actually take the water out of the hydrant itself.
Oh, okay. Well, with the way the fire hydrant is constructed, there is a piece that you have the valve on the bottom, and then at the very top you have what's called an operating nut, which you go and turn to open up the hydrant to let the water flow out of the nozzles that the fire department hooks their hoses up to. Once the hydrant is used and you close down the operating nut to stop the flow of water to the hydrant, there's a couple, maybe 3, 4 holes that are in the bottom portion of the hydrant, which will let water to drain away. So then you don't have water in that chamber, which when you have freezing temperatures looks to go and expand, and then once frozen temperatures and water expand, things can go and break. So it's basically just making sure that the hydrant is ready to be put into service once it's called on to perform a service.
Thank you.
IT. Next week. All right. Manager Crowe.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just quick, we're beginning to work on measurables. We're starting with community development, and one of the ones is looking at inspection citations so that we can report out to council, get a measurement of what we're doing. Just for council's information, in the last month we've issued 411 citations, and we had 66 hearings dealing with nuisance complaints within the city.
Is that it?
That's it.
That's it? That's quick.
That's short for me.
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
Thank you. Manager Crowe, could I just ask you one small favor? We received the memo about the leaf pickup that's happening soon, released by Ms. Cayley. Could you make sure that's shareable so we can share that on social media? I tried to download the PDF and I couldn't get it to work.
Okay. I believe we've posted on Facebook. I'll do it, have it done again.
Okay, I'm sorry, I did not see that.
So I'll make sure it gets done tomorrow morning.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, just a couple of things. Chief, excited to be able to do that coffee with at the Martin Luther King. I think it's be a good opportunity to be out there and just see how people want to interact and bring solutions to the table and see what their concerns are. So, got some statistic back from the September 21st to 22nd weekend with all that went in our downtown. Paint the Port had 300 squares that were painted, which is phenomenal, and an average of 3 people per square. So we had 900 people painting in the downtown, which I think is a great encouragement to see all the participating that goes on with that. And Brewfest had an estimate of 1,000 people, and Tour de Freeport had 85 cyclists. So those were all great things that took place just a week and a half ago. Last weekend, I had the privilege of presenting the Best in Show and the Reserve Best in Show for the dog show at the fairgrounds that is held by the Rockford, Freeport, Illinois Kennel Club. There were 755 dogs registered. An amazing amount of people that turn out for an event like this. So I'd just like to say thank you to the Kennel Club for filling all of our hotels and our restaurants, and what a great way for people all across the United States to see Freeport. And that's all I have. So Alderman Clem.
I've got a couple things, Madam Mayor. 2 of them involve the opportunity for young children in the community, from the middle school ages and from the high school ages, to write an essay and turn it into the VFW regarding the smaller one is a Patriot's Pen, which is at the middle school, and that's a 300 to 400 word essay on why I honor the American flag. The one for the Voice of Democracy, for the top scholarship is $5,000 in that, a trip to Washington. The Voice of Democracy is a $30,000 top prize with a trip to Washington, D.C. And also this year the essays can be done verbally on a flash drive and turn them in. So that will, I think, be advantage to some people. But if anybody would like to participate in this, you can go to vfw.org or give myself a call or Marilyn Rice. We'd be happy to move things forward for you or get you the information that you need. Last thing, and very important to our community, is the Salvation Army is holding a coat drive. Gently used coats in all sizes, kids, adults, everything. I've gone to the last couple Salvation Army board meetings, and it was presented last week on how many people or how much service Salvation does for the city of Freeport and the people. And it's an extremely good organization. I know there's many people here in the council that back it, and there's people here that are on the board. So please keep that in mind as you go to grab your coat this winter to get started. Take a look and say, hey, do I really need this one, and this one? and please take them down to the Salvation Army. Thank you.
Thank you. Alderman McClanathan.
Thank you. I just want to say thank you to all those volunteers for those events that you were indicating. While there is a city role, it's largely volunteer driven on that, and to make those events a success takes a lot of individuals and a lot of time and a lot of effort, but they really help showcase the city. So I'd say thank you for that. And then also along the lines of with Alderman Clem was talking about with elections coming up, just a reminder, one of the things that's obviously, everyone knows that there's candidates running and things of that nature, but there's also referendums that pertain to the city. So I just encourage individuals to get the information in regards to that so they can make an informed decision as it impacts all of us moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Ross.
I just have one question. Really, I have nothing at all, but I just want to ask Alderman Clem, are there any specific dates for the coat drive?
Coat drive is going on as we speak, and I believe they start to put them out on the 15th, is it, Chief? Do you remember 15th or mid? So anytime now we can take them in on Monday and Friday between 8 to 4. And coat drive hours are October 16th to 19th for distribution when they started out. And they expect to give away, just so you know, they expect to go through probably 400 coats or better. And that's a big section of our community that really needs that help.
Thank you.
Alderman Parker.
No report.
Thank you. Alderman Busker.
Nothing this evening.
Thank you. Alderman Brashaw.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to expound on what Tom Clem said just a little bit regarding the Salvation Army. They're always looking for volunteers. Our Salvation Army, with Captains Brixon, there's two of them. He and she are both captains with the Salvation Army, and they both give their lifeblood to the organization. They serve meals out of there. They do the coat drives. They do so much for our community anytime we have flooding, and they're always shorthanded. And that couple puts in so many hours. I feel sorry for them sometimes. The kindest people you'd ever meet, but there again, they just need people to step forward and offer to serve some meals, especially during the holidays. I'm sure Tom's worked in the kitchens as well as I have, and I know they can always use an extra hand. That's all I ask the community to step forward and help Salvation Army. Thank you.
Get out your bell ring and gloves.
Yeah, I've done that too.
Alderman Keister.
Thank you, Mayor. I had announced last month about the mail run out at the airport. That's basically a scavenger hunt with airplanes. Well, due to some logistic problems, that had to be rescheduled. That will be going on the 13th of this month out at the airport. And again, a quick explanation. Basically, what they do is they give you 3 or 4 points that you have to fly to and take pictures of something from the air. The trick to that is you're not allowed to use any modern navigational devices. You have to sit down with the old type devices, and you have to measure it out, plot it out, and plan it out all yourself without any electronics, and you're not even allowed to use a calculator. And those that come in closest to their time and have all the pictures are the winners. Also, last year, and they're going to do it again this year, you also have to calculate your fuel usage now, and that is figured in on who the winner is. So that I'm looking forward. Unfortunately, I don't have my license. I won't be flying as a pilot this year, but I will be flying as a navigator.
Thank you. Alderman Chesney.
Thank you, Mayor. Had the opportunity to attend the Highland Shindig this weekend. 465 people attended. I think, Lowell, you were there. We truly do have some very generous people. When you see drink trays selling for $1,000, it's just a reminder that there are truly some very generous people out there. Highland raised tens of thousands of dollars. As many of you know, Highland was ranked in the top 10 of junior colleges throughout the state. This event was run and hosted by Jim Berberet and Jeff Renke, who is the executive director, and they spent a lot of time putting this together. But for those that had the opportunity to attend, the energy that was in that room was truly amazing. So great group of people, great fundraiser, great cause. For those that haven't had a chance to attend Highland Shindig, should do so. It's truly a worthy cause, so thank you.
Thank you. Next is public comment.
Good evening. I'm just going to read my notes from the beginning. This dance started a year ago, the first time the Freeport police entered our property without probable cause, no warrant, no written complaint, illegally searching vehicles, and tagged some 30-something cars for being operable. Funny thing about that, because that's the business we're in, fixing inoperable vehicles. At that time, we had a hearing, got through that, and we thought it was over. Well, since then, we continued to conduct business in a very transparent way, only to be watched and photographed. When we approached the vehicles to ask what they were doing, they would just drive away. Also, a year ago, I personally asked the City Council if someone could let us know if there are any intentions of future plans for the area along South Hancock, which include our property at 78 South Hancock. I'm still waiting for that response. I asked this question because we would like to do some improvements on the property that are still on hold. The biggest improvement we would like to do is to put up a fence according to the ordinance, and I hope I read this correctly, 2013-44, Chapter 1254 in the Manufacturing 1 Ordinance. And it states we are allowed to do so. Through the months of November and March last year, we attempted to talk to the building commissioner, which quit or was fired, so we pursued to contacting a new commissioner, which we did, but we got a lot of song and dance and still no answers. Also, in April, I filled out an application to have a curb cut in front of our property. We have still gotten no response to that. And here we are again with the Freeport police entering our property again, tagging numerous cars, again with no probable cause, again no warrant, again no written complaint, again illegally searching the vehicles. We complied with removing all the vehicles, which is our inventory and work. Then we immediately get hit with a citation to clean up and remove our inventory of parts that are on the ground with a request for immediate action. How about some immediate action and some answers for our questions? We have been stonewalled along the way. The worst culprit for the stonewalling is our own alderman, Art Ross, Also, recently, the building commissioner, when asked about helping us with a permit to build a fence, he responded with, "Don't bother, it won't be approved anyway." We have been advised by legal representation to approach the City Council to first see if we can get a response to our question as to why we are being singled out and harassed and not allowed to move forward. Please feel free to contact us, me, my brother, about this situation. It would be greatly appreciated so we can move forward.
Thank you, sir. Could you please state your name so we have that for the record?
Neil Strutzenberg.
Thank you. Is there any further public comments? Seeing none, the last is item number 17, which is a motion for adjournment.
So move.
Second it.
A motion made by Keister, seconded by Ross. All those in favor of adjournment, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Have a good evening.